psychology, education, sociology, or another related field, students who are interested in school psychology will apply to IUP's program. You will fill out an online application as well as entering your GRE scores and sending in an undergraduate transcript. Once you are called for an interview, students come to campus for a faculty-wide interview where you sit with faculty in a small room and complete your interview. We do encourage students to apply by February, but we have rolling admissions, so don't panic if you don't get your application in by then. And that's all.
So for the PhD program, they encourage you to apply directly from your undergrad. If you're not sure and you end up applying for the master's program, you can apply to the PhD later, but they do encourage people to apply directly out of undergrad because your course cycle is a little bit different. For the PhD program, there is an interview. The interview is just comprised of a panel of professors who are asking you questions about your past experiences and your future interests in your career to decide if you would be a right fit for IUP's doctorate program. There is a rolling admission, so that means that as people apply, they can be brought in for interviews, but they do encourage all of the PhD applications to be submitted by February, and that would be for the following fall. And you can fill out the application online at iup.edu.
So here at the IUP School Psychology program, we have multiple opportunities to engage in professional development and go to different conferences. Every October, we all get to go to the ASP conference, which is the Associated School Psychologists in Pennsylvania. At the conference, you have the ability to go to different sessions to learn new things and network with school psychologists out in the field, as well as present your own research. And every spring, the National Association of School Psychologists also has a conference that we can go to. And at that conference, it's a lot of the same thing, just at a grander scale, because you're engaging with different school psychologists from all over the U.S. And they're both just great opportunities to delve into the field of school psychology and see what people are doing outside of academics.
Hi, I'm a graduate assistant at the Child Studies Center at IUP. The Child Studies Center is a psychoeducational clinic right here on IUP's campus. The Child Studies Center provides psychoeducational services for children and students within our community. The Child Studies Center is a great opportunity for our graduate students to be clinicians. During clinic, our clinicians work closely with our faculty and staff and doctoral supervisors. They provide the testing services for the children, and they make recommendations for home and school. This is an amazing opportunity for graduate students to gain first-hand experience as a school psychologist before entering internship or entering the field of school psychology.
After finding a school district that offers an internship to school psychology certification students, you would then put together a portfolio which would include the application for the school district, 3 letters of recommendation from professors that you currently have. You would also have your resume or CV in the portfolio and also a sample evaluation report. After you turn in your portfolio to the school district will then contact you for an interview. The interview can either be over the phone or in person. You should dress professionally for in-person interviews, and the interviews usually last for about 30 minutes to an hour. The interviews are with a variety of personnel in the school district, such as the school psychologist, special education coordinator, etc. My best advice when looking for internships is to start early and prepare early in the year, as this process can be lengthy if time frames between your schedule and the school district's schedule don't match up exactly.
Hi, my name is Dr. Mark McGowan, and I am the graduate coordinator of the Master's and Educational Specialist Certificate here at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. I've been asked to speak with you today about graduate assistantships. The IUP, Educational and School Psychology Department, has been able to offer a number of graduate assistantships to students enrolled in our programs. Typically, the majority of students receive assistantships in some form. With that being said, we offer assistantships that are either packaged in 20-hour, 10-hour, or 8-hour commitments each week. Students are awarded benefits in the form of resources, money that is either applied to tuition or to stipends that students receive throughout their program. If you have additional questions about graduate assistantships, I would encourage you to visit our website, or you can contact me at mmcgowan@iup.edu. Thank you.
The culminating experience of a doctoral program is the completion of a dissertation, and a dissertation is basically a systematic, in-depth, empirical investigation of a research question or a series of research questions. Students typically begin that process by meeting with faculty to identify which faculty tend to have research interests that are aligned with the students, and it's at that point in time that students identify their chair, who mentors them through the process, and then they subsequently identify additional committee members, up to 3 additional committee members. Now, once students have identified a committee, they then formalize what is referred to as a prospectus, and a prospectus is basically a document that outlines the general idea of the research questions, a little bit of literature review regarding why those research questions are salient, and then also some initial understandings as to how that research question will be answered. The committee then meets with the student for an official prospectus meeting, at which point in time the research questions are more formalized and the methodology is also discussed. The next stage in the research process of completing a dissertation is for the student to work very closely with a mentor, that is his or her chair, and the student works on the first 3 chapters of the dissertation, in which they are identifying the salient literature review, the research questions, and then formalizing and codifying the methodology. Students then meet with their entire faculty dissertation committee and have what is referred to as a 3-chapter defense. And in that 3-chapter defense, the students and the faculty agree upon the research questions and finalize the methodology. Subsequent to that process, and actually concurrently while completing those 3 chapters, the student and his or her chair work on the research topic approval form, as well as completing the protocol for the Institutional Review Board for the Protection of Human Subjects Protocol, or IRB protocol. So those processes actually occur concurrently with completion of the first 3 chapters of the dissertation. Then finally, once the student runs the project, collects data, analyzes the data, and of course is working very closely with his or her chair throughout that process, the final stage of the dissertation is what is referred to as the final oral defense, and that is where the student presents all 5 chapters of the dissertation to his or her committee, as well as it's open to the public. Questions and answers are shared at that meeting, and then the committee decides whether or not the student has passed. It is my opinion, frankly, that a good chair will ensure that the student is successful in his or her final defense, and so usually the passing element of that final defense is somewhat of a foregone conclusion, assuming the chair and the student have adequately prepared. But that entire process can take upwards of a year or 2, sometimes even longer, and I think that's probably the biggest barrier for students, is that they frequently believe that they can complete a dissertation in a matter of a couple of weeks or a few months, and that, for the most part, is not the case. It typically takes at least a year or 2 from start to finish to complete a dissertation. It's a huge project, and it's a very worthwhile project, but it's one that requires considerable effort.
I want to talk a little bit about the PhD internship. On the PhD internship, it's an opportunity for students to practice all the skills that they've learned as they've gone through the PhD program. So all students in the school psych program have to go out for a period of time to practice their skills full-time in the school setting. With a PhD internship, you're out for a longer period of time than you are with a certification internship. And during that, what becomes about a year-long process of being out in the schools, you practice all sorts of different skills. So you practice consultation skills, counseling skills, assessment skills, systems-wide approaches to things like response to intervention, school-based mental health, positive behavior interventions and supports. So you practice a wide variety of skills. I would say one big thing that makes it the PhD internship significantly different from the certification level is that all those skills you're practicing at a more intense level because you've had more in-depth coursework on those key topics. In addition, one area that as a PhD student you will have spent more time in your coursework doing is on statistics and research. And therefore, a lot of the products that we look for as a component of that internship process is you demonstrating your research skills. So that might be single subject research, that might be more evaluation types of research or studies that you're doing, but there are projects that we look for that demonstrate specifically those research and stats skills when you're out on that experience. For a PhD internship, you can go almost anywhere that you're able to identify a supervisor that has the appropriate credentials. Once you identify a site, most students have to go through an interview process. If you're accepted for that position, you present that opportunity to the internship coordinator, and he or she will review it and go through the appropriate university channels to get it approved. But again, the supervisor in the school setting has to have the appropriate credentials. Typically, those internship opportunities are paid opportunities. Typically, they're paid in the state of Pennsylvania, and typically they're paid outside the state of Pennsylvania. The range of that stipend varies. We average in our program around a $10,000 stipend, but that's plus or minus $2,000 or so, and then we have some that are on the outlier range of $25,000 and $30,000, so it really depends. We also have some students that accept unpaid internships because they really want to be in a specific geographic location, and that's okay as well.
Having a certification in school psychology opens the door to many job opportunities. Not only can you work in a school district, but you could also work within an intermediate unit or a more clinical setting such as a hospital. If you do work in a school system with a few years experience and additional credits, you could actually take on a more administrative role such as a principal. If a school setting or a clinical setting doesn't seem like a good fit for you, there are also opportunities with test developing agencies and agencies that do more consultative work.
With a PhD in school psychology, you have additional career paths and job opportunities available to you that may not be available with just the postmaster certification. Primarily, the first you would be looking at is if you were interested in going to higher ed and becoming a professor. The additional research training assists you in continuing prior research that's been done if you're interested in looking at new avenues to research. And additionally, if you were looking at assessment development, all of the additional research training would be a prerequisite for that. A practitioner is still obviously available. You could still be a practitioner for a while, and many professors were practitioners first for at least a few years, so you have those options. At this department here, you have the opportunity to get the certification for pupil services. So if you were interested in being a director of pupil services, you can take additional classes here in the program and have that available to you. Additionally, if you were looking at being a superintendent or a principal, while the PhD is not necessarily a requirement, it allows you to be a lot more competitive in those fields. You would still need to get the certifications for those, but you would be able to compete for most of the positions with a little bit more veracity if you have the PhD. Also looking at what we call systems level changes, so if you're looking at state or even within a district, an administrative role, but even higher, looking at different education policy, different things like that. Having the PhD gives you the training and the career opportunities to affect public education from an additional vantage point, like I said, from the state level, possibly national level, that might not be available to you with simply the cert. Additionally, if you were looking at trying to do what we call systems level change, so this is more policy, education policy, things of that nature, the PhD gives you the training and the career opportunities to further explore those. So even nationally or at the state level and administratively within a district, all of those become much more feasible to you with the PhD in school psychology.